Not too long ago, I had an idea. Let's make the highest end keyboard we can muster using just parts from the folks at mechanicalkeyboards.com. So that's what we did. Full disclosure, MK sent me everything we needed to assemble this keyboard, but I will be returning everything once we're done with this content. And I am really sad about it as a bit of a teaser. But it's also important to note, all opinions remain my own and no one has been privy to this content prior to its upload. Make sure you check out all the affiliate links down in the video's description to shop at mechanicalkeyboards.com and help support the channel in the process. And a huge shout out and thank you to mechanicalkeyboards.com for making today's content possible. We'll start with the mixed bag of this endeavor. The Vortex Model M SSK TKL Barebones, coming in at $270. It features an aluminum case and two hot swap PCBs, one for the main alpha cluster and one for the F row due to the severe curvature of the top case to match the original style of the Model M. It's got style for days and a great sound even without most of the foam, as we'll listen to later on. It's got a bit of unevenness in the F row thanks to the integrated plate for that region requiring plate foam for it to sound decent. I feel like this, combined with the bottom region being gasket mount and using an FR4 plate, makes this board sound a bit more uneven than I'd prefer, but there is an aluminum plate option if you want to match the two regions' plate materials. There's also the fiddly nature of assembly and requirement to cut the gasket material to get everything put together comfortably. If Vortex wanted to really take this to the next level and simplify assembly while also providing maximum tunability and even feeling typing, this entire board should move to top mount for both regions, with both regions sharing the same plate material at stock. There were also some QC issues with the case machining for our example, with the right rear corner not being flush with the rest of the keyboard, and the ano at the bottom of the case not having a particularly clean finish. Given what I've seen here, this is what would largely be considered, at best, B stock in the world of barebones keyboards. I thought at least the case alignment issue might be a need to shift the case around, but there are 4 different alignment pins that align the top case to the bottom and pass through the switch plate, so the board can only go together one, and only one, way. If this is a one-off issue, that's one thing. But if this is more widespread, that would be a cause for concern, and they would need to revisit their QC with their menu to justify this current price point. It's worth mentioning there is a plastic version of this board for around $150 selling as a pre-built, and while it does appear to change some things structurally, it appears to still retain the same style otherwise. While this board was an absolute joy to type on and has undeniable style, the QC issues make this one I'd go into with caution for the price point without knowing if this is a widespread or isolated issue. If your sample ends up being fine, be prepared for a fiddly build process, but expect to be rewarded with a build like nothing else in your collection. So as we heard, largely with or without foam, despite the unevenness of the F row, this board sounds amazing. But what are those parts we used to arrive at this sound? The switches are Swagkeys Jieum V2s, a linear with a full nylon housing and an elongated palm stem providing 3.5mm of total travel and 1.8mm actuation point. These sound sort of like what a cherry switch might sound like if they retained their dense acoustics but lost their scratch. There's also unique holes molded into the bottom housing, keeping the switch from being overly loud. So be mindful with lube should you ever redo the springs. The springs are reported as being 50 grams, but this is a bit misleading as that seems to be the actuation force. Switch Oddities reports the bottom out of the switch as being 63.5 grams, which feels a lot more accurate given the extended length providing an extremely firm-feeling switch depression with a lively, snappy return stroke. It's also worth mentioning these stems have the most well-composed travel I have ever seen in a mechanical switch, potentially having something to do with the way the top housing is molded with the additional sidewalls around the stem. The factory lube appears limited to the switch legs, but these feel really damn smooth as is, so if you're cool with the weight, then these should be fine for most users at stock. Personal recommendations would be to hand lube over the stem legs and slide rails with some 3204 and swap to your preferred spring weight. Also, before we forget, the stabilizers used here, cherry clip-ins, are the only thing not provided by MK, but they do have some nice options available in their inventory. Last, and certainly not least, is another bucket list item for me. As it turns out, a generous community member provided us with a personal copy of this set as well, so this won't be the last time you see GMK Honeywell. Yes, you heard correctly, GMK Honeywell. A brand new, unopened set of GMK Honeywell in 2024. Well, I mean, I opened it now, but you know what I mean. As of recording, they still have some base kits in stock at $170, as well as the Tiffany and pink accents. I can also confirm the manufacturing date for this particular run of Honeywell they have is dated for 2022, which means this particular kitting not only includes the split space bars, still no second B key unfortunately, but this also means that the red accent caps lack the burn marks that the original run of Honeywell had, so this is basically about as good a version of Honeywell as you can get right now. MK does still have a few other sets that were originally run by Originative, but the current pricing on them really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in lieu of contemporary pricing and availability and kitting for GMK Keycap sets, with the Originative white on black set being particularly egregious to me. That said, Honeywell is the most reasonably priced of all of these sets, and it's got a really nice timeless look that I am gassed to have added to the collection, and this will absolutely not be the last time you see us building here with GMK Honeywell. So for just shy of $500, was this all worth it? Well, we spent a bit more than is typical for GMK Keycaps given contemporary pricing and kitting options, but this isn't exactly an easy to find set. There aren't very many of them left in the wild, and nothing else quite looks like this, even if you can emulate a similar look using less expensive, readily available keycaps from other vendors. So generally speaking, I'd be pretty happy here. There's also the Jieum V2 Linears. While these are basically perfect at stock, you could always apply a bit of personalization of them to suit your personal needs, and these would still overall be great. No issues here either. It's the Vortex Model M SSK, where it's something of a mixed bag. The board feels great, it sounds wonderful regardless of the presence of foam or not. The space gray color we got pairs so perfectly with Honeywell, it's all I can think about, and it's got general riz for days. But I remain bothered by a blemish that I can't see while the board is in use, and uneven anodizing that I also won't see while the board is in use. But I know it's there. I'm honestly less fussed by the fiddly build process. That's something you can overcome with a bit of careful thought and a build guide, though I do still recommend this build for more of an intermediate builder who's put together at least 2 or 3 other keyboards before, preferably something top mount and something gasket mount. Now to be clear, I don't blame mechanicalkeyboards.com for a problem that is very clearly Vortex's to solve. The QC issues on this board are absolutely not acceptable for what would be considered an A-stock release, or something that has even fit and finish for the top and bottom cases, the plates cut well, the colors all look right, everything's good to go. This board would largely have been considered B-stock in the greater keyboard enthusiast community, which is a product that will otherwise build properly, it will sound good, it will feel right, but visually there will probably be some blemishes up to and including what we experienced on the Model M SSK today, with an uneven case alignment, some anodization issues, possibly even including some plates that weren't cut correctly for every available layout option. Typically, with B-stock kitting, you'll see a price reduction for them. Now, because mechanicalkeyboards.com had no idea that this board would be in this condition when they received it, presumably Vortex does quality control on their products before they ship them, I can't say I blame them for selling this at a full price. But if this product does make their way into their open box inventory, it could certainly use a healthy discount to ensure that whoever's buying this after I'm done with the board feels a lot less bad about the blemishes that they encounter for what's otherwise a really solid and unique TKL. An alternative TKL in the MK inventory to consider for a look like this might be the Click Ink Game 1989, though having never used it and seeing that it appears to have a very flex-cut PCB, I can't really speak to what the experience is like with this board. Comment below if you'd like us to take a look at it in a future content piece. While the total finished build might not have been S tier on all fronts, it's certainly one of the classiest looking and best sounding keyboards I have ever built, and one that despite its blemishes, I am very sad to see go. That wraps it up for today's content. Let me know what you thought of this idea and what board you'd build with mechanicalkeyboards.com's inventory. Also, how do you feel about the blemishes we found on our Vortex sample? Would you be as bothered by this as I am? Be sure to check out our affiliate links in the description for everything seen in today's video. Toss us a like on your way out if you liked what you saw, get subscribed and notified, and if you're looking for some more keyboard content, check out some of our other videos on some custom builds we've done. Take care of yourselves and one another, and we'll see you all in the next video.